just finished interviewing my friend Sascha on the topic of personal freedom and how to escape the 9-to-5 rat race with this beautiful backdrop right here. Full video coming very shortly.
You hear this shit like, oh, it's a pyramid scheme, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, mate, because everything in life is a pyramid, you know. If you work in your corporate shop, up there is the CEO, and guess where you are in the pyramid? Down here, mate. But if you're only in a 9-to-5 job and live this routine because you want money or you need money to pay the bills, and that's stupid. I actually make it a habit sometimes to also post stuff on social media when I'm in a bad place, you know, because it's not all glittery like bikini girls and party lifestyle.
Going through a paradigm shift. And there's going to be chaos during that transitional period where the old system, the old debt-based fiat monetary system is on its way out.
Hey, what's up? This is Chris, and I'm here in the atrium of my home in Playa del Carmen, Mexico, with my friend Sascha. And I wanted to talk to Sascha today because Sascha is probably the most passionate person that I know when it comes to the topic of freedom, and especially individual freedom. And Sascha's actually a digital nomad, just like myself. So Sascha, tell us a little bit about how long have you been a digital nomad?
Oh, well, hey Chris, so thanks first of all for the invitation. I'm really flattered that you call me the most passionate person when it comes to personal freedom. So a bit about my story. I'm from Germany, and I've left Germany in 2008 to see what else is out there, right? So I moved to Scotland, and then I kept moving around over the coming years. I've lived in Spain, I've lived in Ireland, and you know, although I always enjoyed being at new places and seeing like how other people do it in other countries, I figured that it's always the same, just in green, and I'm like, there must be more, you know.
So have you been a digital nomad since 2008? Have you had a remote source of income since you left Germany? Or what did you do?
No, I was just a normal, what's that anyways? I was just doing all the normal stuff. I was employed in the 9-to-5. I just went to a new country, was looking for a job, got a social security number and all that stuff. And I've pretty much been a nomad, let's say from late 2017 on. I didn't really know what I was doing at that time. Mm-hmm. I dropped out of my corporate job back then for health reasons, mental and physical health, and I just couldn't take it anymore. So,
by the way, what was your corporate job?
I started in a call center, probably like everybody, and in the end, I was in fraud prevention. So I quite enjoyed actually doing this kind of work, but what I didn't enjoy was the whole corporate hierarchy around it, you know, being told what to do all the time, and yeah.
Okay. So Sascha, you've got a bit of an interesting story, and it pretty much reflects in the accent that you speak with. So you're actually from Germany.
Yeah.
And then you left Germany in 2008. I guess, what were you, in your 20s at the time?
Yeah, I was 26 when I left home.
Okay. And then you went to Ireland or Scotland?
I went to Scotland first, then I lived in Spain, and then after I lived in Ireland. So yes, my accent might be all over the place.
And you actually learned Spanish in Spain, I suppose, and that's why you can communicate with the Mexican people here in Playa del Carmen,
correct,
right? So from 2006 until 2017, you were traveling, but you still had a standard 9-to-5 job. And what is it, and obviously now you don't have a 9-to-5 job anymore, you work for yourself.
Yeah.
You work online remotely, and you live here in Playa del Carmen. So you've been in Playa del Carmen for, what was it, about 3 months, I think?
Yeah.
3 months. And what is it exactly that you do now to make income while you're working remotely here in Playa?
Right now I'm doing affiliate marketing, so I'm working with a company that is actually from Stuttgart, from the town I'm from in Germany. Without giving out too much detail, it's a blockchain company, and there's a lot of cryptocurrency and blockchain technology we're dealing with at the moment. So something that is also in line with kind of my vision for the future. When we talk about personal freedom, because I think we're very limited by the whole money subject, not only by our beliefs that hold us back, but also by the central banks that are being kept alive artificially. And so I think cryptocurrency, especially asset-backed cryptocurrency, is the way forward.
So you're obviously a very passionate person about freedom, individual freedom, political freedom, and this kind of ties in, like your job that you're doing now, or your source of income, which is remote, which is online, also really ties into your belief that everybody should be free, that we shouldn't be dependent on what you call these central banks. And so you're using your, I guess, background or your philosophy and kind of tying that into a source of income to where you can live the personal freedom that you've always wanted, but also pursue the vision for the future, I guess, that you really want to see happening with the fall of these central banks, as you say, right? So obviously before, you mentioned you worked in call centers, you mentioned you worked in fraud prevention. Was there anything that you learned, any skills that you had from those old jobs that kind of helped you transition into the nomad lifestyle? Or was it really just a new pursuit for you that you just kind of learned and picked up as you wanted to break free?
Well, no, I don't think so. Like the whole nomad thing, that pretty much happened for me because, as I said, I was in a really bad place mentally and physically. So I just booked a one-way ticket to Peru at the time, and I started traveling. I didn't know what was going to happen, I
guess you had some money saved up from your corporate job. That's how you were able to do it initially?
No, I had a couple of credit cards, really. But I had no savings. But I was in a real bad place. I was in a real bad place that I just said, I have to do something else. There needs to be something else in life. I was suffering from eczema. My whole hands were covered, and I was sitting in the office all day long, and don't know even why. I was just sitting there living a complete passionless life.
Based on my very limited knowledge of eczema, I know it's exacerbated by cold and especially humidity. So I guess from what you're saying, really what it was for you was you were just absolutely depressed. You had hit rock bottom. You didn't really know what else was out there. You didn't even have a source of income. Correct. You didn't even have any savings. You just had a couple credit cards.
Yeah.
But you just felt like you had absolutely nothing to lose. Like it really couldn't get any worse for you than just the same repetitive routine of heading into the call center every single day. Yeah. Your health was suffering, your mental health, your physical health. So that's really, I'm just emphasizing that because that's really quite the story of, people always think like, what am I going to do for income? Let me get, $1 million business set up, and then I can travel after the business is running by itself. And they want to, procrastinate using all these different excuses. But really for you just basically said fuck it one day and just essentially, you didn't know what else was out there, but you really just knew it couldn't be any worse than rock bottom, which is where you were at the time.
Exactly, and I find it really fascinating. I'm looking into this, and like a lot of people from like back in the office days, they come back to me now and they ask me what I'm doing for money or how, posting all the stuff on social media about my lifestyle. And just look at this, right? This is different from sitting in a call center in Scotland and watching the rain pour down the whole day. So these people come and they ask me, and then nothing, and I'm like, I don't know. Like a lot of people are fine with what they do, right? And that's cool. But a lot of people, they are really suffering, like I was suffering. And what I was going to say, what I find really fascinating is that people always have to hit rock bottom before they make changes. And I'm like, why? Why does it always have to hurt?
Well, I guess it's just kind of a psychological thing that we have as human beings that. Well, first off, we're basically taught from a young age that, the road to happiness leads through the 9 to 5, through, financial stability, a mortgage. So there's a lot of, deprogramming that really needs to be done. And I guess the easiest way to deprogram yourself is to really explore that avenue for, I guess you did it for several years, right? Over a decade, you were saying, right? From 2006.
Well, I mean, I started working back in Germany, even
Okay.
in industry, like in 1999. That's when I started my apprenticeship. So yeah, before I did, it was, let's say, 20 years in the
20 years.
on the workforce, if you want to call it that. Before I started doing my own thing, and again, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. But when you talk about like conditioning or about like what we are being told, what the road to freedom is, I suppose it's more about, you know, breaking free from the tradition, like to actually do what you're passionate about. Again, you might find that in a corporate job. I'm not, I mean, yeah, I use my tagline, quit corporate insanity now, but you know, it is about doing what you're passionate about. And the thing is, we worry way too much about money, and for that reason we keep ourselves in uncomfortable situations.
Right. I guess, yeah, the classic philosophy is just to seek stability. And I guess, really, if all you care about is stability and you're willing to sacrifice your happiness, sacrifice your dreams and your freedom, the 9 to 5 really is the best way to get that stability, right? And it seems like for a lot of people, that's kind of like their guiding North Star of what they pursue and what they advise other people to pursue is just that stability. But, okay, so for yourself, like, I'm guessing...
Well, sorry, let me just say,
Yeah.
I disagree there, because like it gives you a false sense of stability, like
Okay.
because I mean, again, money, like nowadays, if you really are only in a 9 to 5, and again, like if you find your passion in a 9 to 5 job, which a lot of people apparently do, that's fine. But if you're only in a 9 to 5 job and live this routine because you want money or you need money to pay the bills, and that's stupid, because just open your mind even a little bit. There is so much you can, there is so many ways nowadays how you can make money, you know, like even all these third-party apps. There is an app called Neighbor where you can rent out your storage and make money. There is an app called Turo, which means you can rent out your private car. There's Airbnb, you can rent out your guest room, and that takes a lot of financial burden off you. So yeah, we all want stability, but financial stability doesn't come from a 9 to 5.
And these are all things that obviously didn't exist even 5 years ago in most cases.
Exactly.
So really, I mean, we're on the cutting edge of this whole being able to make money and have some sense of stability, as you call it, without a typical 9 to 5 job, which, you know, really, I mean, despite all the downsides, you know, 9 to 5 propaganda, brainwashing, the way we're conditioned, whatever political problems there are in the world, we really are living in the best time to be able to do what you're doing. And I mean, not only the best time, but really the only time. Like, this wasn't even possible physically 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So, you know, we do have a lot to be thankful for in that sense. And I mean, if you're at home watching this video and you're wondering why you didn't do this 10 years ago or 5 years ago, I mean, really now is the time to do it, because there was no opportunity to do a lot of these things even 5 years ago. I mean, and Sascha, you know, on that exact same topic, given that it wasn't possible to do this, you know, in previous generations, did you really have anyone in your social circle or anyone in your family to really, you know, set an example for you of how to be able to make a remote income or, you know, a self-employed income? I mean, for most people, you know, their parents, their social circle, their high school friends, whatever, if they went to college, all these people are really just pushing them in the same direction. And you really kind of have to be willing to separate yourself out from your entire social circle and kind of carve out your own path. Was that the case for you? Did you have a lot of support in your social circle, or was there resistance? Did you tell people what you were planning to do in advance, or?
Well, no, it was just, again, like I dropped out of the corporate world. At some point I came across the opportunity I'm working with now. With regards to any encouragement in my social circle, no, not at all. Because, you know, a lot of people, they just don't like the unknown. And I mean, yeah, there was the possibility, if you say like there was such possibility like 10, 15 years ago. I mean, there was always kind of traditional network marketing, whatever, you know, Herbalife and selling creams and shit.
Right.
And these are proven systems that work, you know. So yes, there are black sheep out there that give this industry a very bad name, and this is why I think a lot of people, you know, if you approach them with a network marketing or affiliate marketing opportunity, then you hear this shit like, oh, it's a pyramid scheme, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, mate, because everything in life is a pyramid, you know. If you work in your corporate shop, up there is the CEO, and guess where you are in the pyramid? Down here, mate. So, right. And in affiliate and network marketing, you know, there is a way to get up in terms of making money. You can absolutely go on top of this pyramid. So,
and I'm guessing, you know, you're not pitching this affiliate marketing program to your close friends or acquaintances back in Germany or family members.
Yes, I do pitch. I did pitch to friends and family members, and I have a couple of people who got in, and because number one, these are the people you're meant to love the most, so why, you know, hide this opportunity from them?
And you believe in what you're selling.
Exactly, absolutely. Like, I'm not gonna do any creams or any food supplement stuff. I don't believe in this crap. So I really believe in what I'm selling, and so yeah, number one, I tell the people I love the most, and then it's their decision whether or not they want to do it.
And I know you really believe in what you're selling, because I know how passionate you are about, you know, as we were discussing before, let's say, you know, overthrowing the archaic central banking system, as you might describe it, right? Or at least maybe going around it in a way.
Yeah, I mean, overthrowing it is probably a bit strong, but I like to be out of its limitations, and I like to be out of any kind of limitations that other people lay upon me. You know, like be it public schooling. I never went well with public schooling, and I suppose no entrepreneur ever did, because, like, what is public schooling? They measure a fish's ability to climb a tree, and then they assess that.
I'll tell you a bit about my story. In my case, I didn't tell my own parents where I was going. I didn't really tell my friends. I told one friend, my friend Brendan, who I actually left Canada with him at the same time back in October 2018. And he was my first roommate here in Playa del Carmen. And he was really the only person who knew that I was leaving. So I didn't tell anyone, because I knew that if I told people, I would get nothing but shit thrown in my face. Like, nobody was going to understand, nobody was going to approve. And I'd been in that situation a few times before with, starting a few businesses back in Canada, which people really didn't approve of anything that involved quitting a job or any kind of entrepreneurship. So I could only imagine, you know, if it also involved, moving to a different country and, you know, starting a digital nomad lifestyle, I was going to get a lot of headwinds, and that was just something that I probably could have handled it, but what's the point, really? You know, my philosophy is it's always better to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission, and I just posted a photo on Instagram with that exact caption today. It's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Yeah.
So I guess with you, like, you pretty much just picked up and left one day, right?
Well, so I think I have two questions to answer now. Number one is, I don't give a shit what other people think. That's exactly, and I always had that philosophy, you know. I left Germany in 2008, as I said. It was always my dream back then to live in Scotland, and I wanted to live in Scotland, and, you know, and everyone laughed at me. Everyone said, yeah, you're never gonna go. And one day I left. I got this call center job in a phone interview from Germany, and then I took my 23-year-old car with just a couple of bags, and I left. People are always going to say something. So, and then I left, and once I had left, then the next thing came up. Oh, he's going to come back faster than he left. He's going to come back very soon.
This is when you were still working a corporate job.
Yeah, that was just
2016,
like, you know, back in 2008. But what I'm saying is, like, I always had this kind of this kind of mindset that I don't really give a crap what other people say, and I'm going to do it anyways.
Sascha's found a way to live the nomad lifestyle, travel the world. You've been to several countries now. So, by the way, you've been in Playa for 3 months.
Yeah.
Where were you before Playa? Have you been to a lot of other countries? You mentioned Peru. You mentioned before that, with the corporate jobs, Scotland, Ireland, Spain, obviously, and then you left to Peru. So tell us a little bit about where else you've traveled as well.
Right. So since 2017, since I dropped out of my job, So yeah, I booked a one-way ticket to Peru, and from there I traveled all the way up to here, actually to Cancun. So I went to Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, Guatemala, around Mexico, and that took me 4 months. And on this first trip, that's when I came across this opportunity I'm working with now. And then I've been back to Germany for a couple of months, and after that, so like since this year in March, I've been traveling full time for 6 months before I actually kind of semi-settled here in Playa. So I've been to Dubai this year, I've been to Cape Town, I've been 2 months road tripping around the United States, several places in Mexico again, and now I'm here.
Awesome. So you've really, taken advantage of your freedom to explore new places and travel the world. Is there really a place that stood out? I mean, I guess you chose to settle here in southern Mexico, in Quintana Roo. So was that kind of your favorite place, or was there another place that really stood out to you along the way?
I always loved Scotland, and it always kind of felt home. But yeah, I always keep coming back to Mexico, and this is actually my first time in Playa del Carmen. So
okay, and you've been here for 3 months.
Yeah, this is the first place I could actually see myself committing to. And I mean, if you know the geography around here, it's pretty much in the middle between Cancun and between Tulum. And I find also that it really offers a middle ground between a very spiritual place and a very touristy place. Right. And on top of it, you can do business here.
Yeah, I guess Tulum is more of the hipster spiritual place, and Cancun's kind of like the more mainstream, go there, spend your money, all-inclusive resort type tourist place, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's interesting. It's in the middle geographically, and from having lived here myself for 8 months, I can attest to the fact that it's also kind of in the middle culturally as well. That's really interesting. So you traveled to a bunch of different places in fairly short sequence. How long did you spend in each place? A couple days or a week or month?
That really depended on either the event I had to attend for the company, or my financial situation, because obviously when we are on this journey and post all our stuff on Facebook, and I actually make it a habit sometimes to also post stuff on social media when I'm in a bad place, because it's not all glittery bikini girls and party lifestyle. When you take responsibility for your life and when you do your own thing, yes, then you also sometimes end up in a hostel in the UK in Brighton because you have 80 quid left for the week. And sometimes I just go where I can afford to go. Mm-hmm. And then if I made a lot of money that week or that month, then I always tell this story. I was at Dubai Marina in March, really exclusive area, and then 3 weeks later I was short on money, and then I was in a hostel in the UK that was so cheap that even the homeless would beg to afford a night in there, and that's part of the journey, freedom. When talking about this, what you said earlier about the stability, yes, a 9 to 5 gives you a certain financial stability, and it probably prevents you from ending up in a stinky hostel with stinky people, but I still prefer to be in a stinky hostel with stinky people for a week and then in a prime property the week after, than to doing all the same shit over and over and over again.
So you weren't rich by any means when you started this nomad journey.
And I'm not rich now.
You're not rich now. You haven't been rich for most of it.
Exactly.
Are there ever any times when you regret being here in Playa del Carmen, and say you want to go back to the UK, or you want to go back to Ireland or Scotland or Germany, and go back to that financial stability that you might have had more of before?
Well, I am working towards financial stability, surely, but I figured for myself that you can't compare places. Scotland offers me something that Mexico cannot offer me, and vice versa. So all the places I've lived to, they're still in my heart, and I still revisit them on a regular basis. The most important thing for me is time freedom rather than money.
Yeah, time freedom is amazing, and I guess with what you're doing now, you have full time freedom. Apparently you also have location freedom as well, because here we are in a tropical paradise. It's December. We're sitting outside. It's almost 30 degrees Celsius. I think it's around 28 degrees, so it's really perfect weather.
Yeah.
So I mean, for me, like, I've always been somebody who really hates the cold, and I need sun, I need warmth, I need freedom. You know, when it's cold, it really restricts your freedom. You can't go outside without feeling pain. And that's pretty much the most basic freedom you can ask for, is the freedom to walk around.
Yeah.
Even before, you know, financial freedom or political freedom or time freedom, just the freedom to walk around, because otherwise, like, I know it's not a jail because you can still go outside,
Yeah.
but it almost feels like you're in a jail when you feel pain. And I'm from Canada, and in the winter in Canada, it gets pretty damn cold. Like, I'm from Toronto, but even there, it's like -10 Celsius, -20 Celsius. Like, that's around, you know, 0 degrees Fahrenheit for several months at a time. And the ground's typically covered in snow and ice, usually from November all the way through to April. So that's basically half the year, right? So
It hurts only thinking about it, man.
it hurts me even thinking about it,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, if I ever had to go back there for another winter, and, you know, a few winters passed by consecutively when I would get to, like, December, January, February, and I would just think to myself, like, this is the last time. I'm never going to do this ever again.
Yeah.
And in 2017, I actually went on 3 separate trips to tropical areas. I went to Dominican Republic for 1 week in December. I went to Miami for 8 days in January, and I went to Miami again for 10 days in March. And even with that, you know, the Canadian dream is basically you work, you make money, and then you escape to a tropical place during whatever time off you have. And I took 3 trips in that winter, and even with those 3 trips, I'd get back and my energy would be up for the first 2 or 3 weeks, but I would very quickly fall back into depression because of the cold, because of the lack of sun, because when all those things come together, you know, you socialize with fewer people, you tend to just coop up and, you know, get stuck in your own thoughts, and it just kind of is a downward spiral. And then every time you leave your house, you're just hit with this strong dose of pain. So if I couldn't be happy with 3 trips to tropical places, which is way more than most people, you know, most people back home are happy if they get just a week, you know, but even with all that, if I couldn't do it, you know, I promised myself that would be the last straw. And so, you know, that was the winter of 2017, 2018, and in October 2018, that very next fall, actually, before it even got super, super cold, I just straight up left without telling anybody. And funny thing, I was actually in Montreal, Canada that summer before, and I was in a barber shop and I was telling people, it was August, and we were all kind of talking about how nice the weather was and how much we're kind of dreading the fall and the winter because everybody kind of feels the same way. And I mentioned to one of the barbers that I was planning to go to Colombia, to Medellin. I heard so much about it. You know, it's obviously a famous city, great nomad community, great expat community. And there was a Mexican barber, and he said, you know what? I don't recommend you go to Medellin. I recommend you go to Playa del Carmen. There's a great beach. The weather's beautiful. It's a tropical Caribbean paradise. So I took that to heart, and I mentioned that to my friend Brendan, and he had actually heard of Playa del Carmen as well. We did a bit of research. We compared it in prices to Miami because Miami is my other, you know, previous favorite tropical place. And, you know, based on, you know, the prices, based on how awesome it looked, we chose to go to Playa del Carmen. And that was in late October 2018. And originally I booked an Airbnb for 6 weeks, but I ended up staying in Playa for 6 months in total last winter. And I just came back again this past September, and I'm going to spend the winter here again. So, I mean, really, I don't regret any of it. You know, I make enough money to get by doing what I'm doing here with the Airbnb, managing Airbnbs back home. I was making more before in my corporate 9-to-5 job, but I really have no regrets. I mean, really the ultimate end goal of everything people do, if you ask them for the most part, is happiness. You know, nobody wants a 9-to-5 for the sake of a 9-to-5. You know, they want the stability which they think is going to make them happy, if not today, at least over a longer period of time, right? But like you said, there's so many different ways to make money now, and even if what I'm doing now didn't work out, I would just look for something else, because just being here, it's just such a blessing and such a joy, and I really wouldn't give this up for, I don't know how much money it would take for me to go back, but I don't think really any amount of money, you know, unless they let me work remote from here, there's
Well,
no amount of money that could get me back into
yeah,
a
no, I
corporate
mean,
job.
like, what is the point of that? That would be the same as going to a 9 to 5. You're being paid to actually physically be somewhere and do something. So, like, again, there's no amount of money that would be enough to get me to a certain place where I don't want to be, because then again, I'm in a corporate job. Again, for me, the most important is freedom to do whatever the hell I want, when I want it, obviously without negatively affecting other people. I'm not talking about complete anarchy and shooting people or something, but
At least not that type of anarchy.
exactly. So, like, I really want, to get people away from the mindset that they have to exchange their time for money. Like, when I'm talking about my affiliate business, I maybe spend an hour a day working on that, and it is a constant, like, it is, you get out what you put in. So if I put more effort in, yes, I can make more money. Do I really want that? Hell no, because again, I'm not here in the Caribbean and I didn't leave my corporate job to sit in front of the computer for 8 hours a day. That's just not what I want to do. So I have other ideas, and I had several business ideas, which again, I didn't want to do for money, but just things that I was always passionate about. And I even registered a business name back in Ireland for something small I wanted to do, but then I figured no, because if I depend on it for the money, then I'm going to ruin it, then I'm going to ruin my hobby.
Right, so if somebody wants to look into the cryptocurrency affiliate program that you're doing right now, is there maybe a place they can go to check it out, or should they perhaps contact us at the email address below, or is there a link you want to post?
Yeah, we can put maybe my WhatsApp or email address, whatever. Let's give the people several options. But I wouldn't like to just say cryptocurrency, because I like to have a personal contact before and then see how we can work together, because a lot of it again is financial education. Just to get people away from the mindset that they have to fucking do something they hate for someone in order to get the money just to get by. That's a very limiting mindset. And look at me, like, I'm the living proof that this thing works, and I'm a very extreme person, right? Not everyone can just drop out of their corporate job, book a one-way ticket to Peru and travel the world. People have responsibilities, people have children, people have mortgages and stuff like that. But we can start small, So what I would really like to do is have a one-to-one, call with someone, connect with people, and then see. Because affiliate marketing is a great way to make money, but it is not for everyone.
Right, so if they do want to connect with you, we'll just post the email address down below.
Perfect.
And people want to get in touch, they can reach out at that email address. We'd love to talk to you. If you're watching this video, you obviously have a somewhat similar interest in what we're doing, or similar mindset. Maybe you're a person who has been thinking about breaking out of your corporate 9-to-5 routine, or maybe you're a person who already has. You're already on this journey with us, and you just want to connect with different like-minded people. No matter what position you're in, we'd love to hear from you and hear your story, and provide whatever input we can provide. As people who have been through the corporate insanity, as you call it, I have as well. I was making really good money, but I still wasn't happy, and I go through that in actually other videos in this channel. Okay, fantastic. And yeah, what else? Like, people think they're just trading in the hours of 9 to 5 to be free the rest of the time. And they're just trading in 40 hours a week. And you might look at the entire number of hours in the week and think, well, 40 hours is a pretty small percentage. But what I've found is that, when you're driving into an office every day, when you're stuck in traffic, when your whole life revolves around that pattern, it's really not just the hours of 9 to 5. I mean, you're really kidding yourself if you think it's only 40 hours a week, because if you're being completely honest, and I had to face this harsh reality myself, it's your whole life. Like, it's really your whole life. You're structuring your entire life around this routine. It's not just the hours of 9 to 5. It's your vacation. It's when you can spend time with your family. It's really everything. And so, let's say your child has a event on a Tuesday afternoon. That's let's say you want to put your child in traditional schooling and all that. your child has an event on Tuesday afternoon, you're going to have to ask your boss for permission to leave. Let's say you can't leave. Really, you're sacrificing not just those 40 hours, you're sacrificing your entire time, your entire family, your entire social relationships are at essentially the mercy of, this routine that you have. And I had to accept this myself. And, for me, accepting that was one of the crucial steps that essentially, allowed me to reach rock bottom, as you say, and to realize that, what I was doing was not worthwhile beforehand. So
yeah, there's a huge problem. It's one word. It's an F word, and it's fine. I'm fine. Are you really fine spending 5 days out of 7 in a stinky office with irresponsible people that come to work? They're even so irresponsible, they come to work when they're sick, they spread their viruses everywhere, everyone gets sick, and it's all open plan nowadays. One person is sick, everyone gets sick. And we still drag each other there. So that's 5 days out of 7. The 6th day, what do? You usually either do the housework because you don't have any time to do that during the week. And then on the 7th day, as God said, you shall rest. Right. Is that really enough? We just rest 1 day out of 7?
Well, that's if you're super disciplined the rest of the week, right? And, I know for myself, and, probably if you're watching this video, you can relate, but, to be super disciplined, to really devote 100% of your life to your chores the other 6 days just so you can rest the 7th, usually there's carryover into that 7th day. It's not just a matter of you get one free day. But even if you did, like a 6-for-1 trade-off, I would still question whether or not that's worthwhile.
Yeah, no, for me, I have made the decision that it isn't. I think that came across quite clear. But what I also wanted to say is, when people see what we are posting, not everyone wants our lifestyle, and that's fine, It doesn't matter if you want to actually, spend more time with your family or see your children grow up. You just maybe want to buy another car, or maybe you want to retire early. Maybe you like your job, but you're a bit stressed. You want to do maybe half of it, There's a million ways to do this. Again, for me, I have decided that time is my most valuable asset, and so that's why I'm not exchanging time for money anymore.
Okay, so again, if you want to connect with myself or with Sascha would love to share, more personal tips, based on your situation, where you're at, where you want to be. Also, if you want to connect with myself, we'll post the contact link down below. Hopefully, if a few tidbits in this video were helpful for you. We have a bunch of other videos on this channel as well, so please hit the subscribe button if you're interested in this. And if you're not, I don't know why you're still watching. If you don't want to be free, if you just want to have a 9 to 5, if you want to be living the same routine until you're basically too old to function and enjoy your life, do not subscribe and do not watch any future videos.
And that's a very important thing you just said. Some people do not want to be free because, we are governed, 95% of our lives are governed by our subconscious. And our subconscious, all this stuff is formed when we are kids. So we are not free when we're kids because, we have these people, our parents, that are meant to care for us. And so there are these limitations that are naturally laid upon us. And all these things, they had a meaning at some point.
And in a way, the 9 to 5 routine is a continuation of that.
Yeah.
You see so many of these responsible people who just, rely on their employer to take care of them. A lot of these people, in my opinion, I've noticed a lot, they basically have the mindset of a child. They're taken care of, financially, and then, maybe they have a few chores, and the rest of the time they're just, getting drunk or fucking around or, not taking proper care of their kids if they have them, or really just being, delinquents because they can afford to be.
And for the lack of time often.
Lack of time as well. Like if you only have a few hours of free time every week, why not just get obliterated to forget, the hell that awaits you tomorrow morning?
Like when I look at the American, Canadian, Western world, when I look at our lifestyle as such, then it screams overwhelm for me,
It does.
And
there's so much you want to do and so little time in which to do it.
Yeah, and I remember a time when, back in Germany when I grew up in the 80s, it was really easy to get by on, one good salary. That's not possible anymore nowadays. So times have changed. Yes, back then, that family dream was possible, the man would go out and earn money, the woman would stay at home. Not that I'm condoning this in any way.
It could be the other way around too, but
yeah,
I think
it's
what
just
you're
like
getting at
we
is
are forced to change because otherwise, you know, life is about change, and we are just not
Right.
living in these times anymore.
And in the past, like I think you're saying, like life was affordable for an entire family on just one 9-to-5 income.
Exactly.
And so, okay, maybe, you know, one of the parents, maybe the husband, maybe the wife, would sacrifice that time, and then, you know, the other partner would take care of a lot of the house chores, a lot of the overwhelm that you describe now wouldn't have been so overwhelming in the past because you had division of labor. You know, the kids could be loved, you know, the chores, the shopping could be taken care of, the bills could be paid. Whereas, like you were saying now, I mean, even with 2 incomes now, most people are struggling to get by in a lot of places, right? So it really lends itself to the overwhelm, to, you know, your kids not having you as they're growing up. I keep going back to that, but, you know, there's nothing more important than your kids. And, you know, the nice thing about being a nomad is you can travel to a place like this, and for the same place that I'm paying, you know, $750 a month for, you know, that would cost me $3,000 a month easily, you know, back home in Canada. So it's quite a difference, you know. So here, really, it is possible to, you know, work less, earn more. If you can find a way, live more. If you can find a way to get paid in a, you know, first world currency like US dollars or euros or Canadian dollars, or and then spend it in a currency like here we're in Mexico, but, you know, this really applies for a lot of different places where your dollar goes a lot further, and, you know, the cost of living, if you account for the currency disparity, is really, you know, what is it here, like 1/3 or 1/4 of what it would be back in Germany, in your case?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you about Germany really because I haven't lived there in a decade. So, and generally, you know, with inflation and prices changing and stuff like that, so I couldn't really tell you about the cost of living in any country because it's really been 2 years since I've committedly lived in Ireland, and Ireland was ridiculously expensive at the time.
Right. I know compared to Toronto, Canada, it's about a third to half of what it would be to live over there. So, and I'm fortunate enough, you know, with what I do, that I was earning in Canadian dollars. So, you know, it really does help you live a better lifestyle, to work less, and, you know, if you did want to raise a family, I think that also would be very helpful as well. So, Sascha, we've just about passed the 45-minute mark now in the video. We've gone through a lot of interesting topics, gone through your story. Hopefully, you know, you found this useful at home. If you want to learn more, continue the conversation, we'd be very happy to speak with you again. Hit the subscribe button, check out the rest of the channel. Send us an email. We're going to post an email address right below this video if you want to get in touch with us. We'd love to help you with wherever you're at in your journey. You know, if this is something that you're at all interested in, you know, we've gone through the entire process, going from, you know, where we were before, which was a corporate 9-to-5 job, to where we are now, which is, you know, traveling, living here in Playa del Carmen. Anywhere you want to live, really. This really applies to you if you want to quit the 9-to-5, or, you know, even just have a income that's not dependent on a corporation. Send us an email at the link in the email address down below. Sascha, are there any last things that you want to say before we wrap this up?
Well, Chris, thanks for the invitation. I really enjoyed this, and yeah, I can just agree with anything you said. If you want more freedom in your life, and again, you don't have to wanting to travel the world. You might just want to spend more time with your family or whatever. Give us a shout, and let's see what we can do for you.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.